He was the perfect chameleon, studying my every word, emotion, perspective, and regurgitating verbatim all of my ideas and spreading them as if they were his own. Young and not familiar with his behavior, I did not understand. I felt like he was my soulmate. I was elated, just like everyone else who did not know him. A social justice warrior, a youth advocate, fatherhood rights champion, and sun dancer. I believed his story of being wronged and abused by his first daughter's mother. How could anyone committed to social justice make up such terrible fabrications? But then it happened to me. When I was 6 months pregnant with my child, he became his true self. My body told me to run, but where? He trapped me. He was a pathological liar, an underemployed trust fund baby pretending to be from the hood. I was terrified when I discovered that when his first daughter was just a few weeks old, he and his mother fabricated lies about the child's mother to gain primary custody and have her thrown out into the streets. I knew I was next. Fast forward through months of fear, I fled when my daughter was only a few months old, with only 21 cents in my pocket, no plan except a prayer that it would finally be accepted to my Master's of Science in Nursing program. I was homeless, and while I fought to survive, he went on a mission to isolate me by befriending all my friends and acquaintances. His goal was to silence me and isolate me from my community. Finally, I got my letter of acceptance to my master's program. I knew I had to petition the courts to move my daughter out of the county to Sacramento. I won, and I gave all praise to the Creator that my daughter and I were finally free. 1 week before finals of my first semester, someone broke into my storage and stole all my regalia, my ceremonial items, irreplaceable photos of my deceased father, and my court documents. I was being watched. This was a clear attack, but I had to be strong. I moved to start a new life. I was excited to meet the other danzantes and the Sacramento native community. That is where I met him. He was in an area where all the danzantes were getting ready. There were children running around and people were laughing. I assumed it would be a safe place. But he was a predator. Unknowingly, he had been following me before I met him. He saw me at other community events. Since I was new to the area and no one knew me, I was an easy target. We dated for a short time, but then finally I expressed an unwillingness to see him again. He became scary and violent. He was a trained MMA fighter and had been imprisoned for murder and domestic violence. He began to come to my house and yell and bang on my doors and windows. I called the police, and they always came too late. I would hide in the bathtub with my 2-year-old, terrified. I didn't know what to do. What was the point of serving him with a restraining order if the police would not show up to enforce it? I had to get away. I was being victimized. I could not lose my child in another custody battle. Then I came home one night to terror. He was in my house. There was no escape, no rationalizing with him. He was raging on about how I had taken away his life and his baby. He was violent. He took off my shoes so that I could not run. He stood in front of the door and he took my keys. I would not leave that night unless I was getting maimed or I was leaving in a body bag. But I had to survive. I had a baby girl and her father is a sociopath. So I had to pretend that I still loved him and that we were going to get back together. I told him whatever he wanted to hear. I was so sick to my stomach afterwards, but I was alive. I lived. I moved away to the South area, got a restraining order, spread word that I moved back to the Bay Area change my license plates, stop going to community events. These men are in our healing circles, our social justice circles, our danza circles, our ceremonies. They are at the forefront of our movements, on the microphone. Their faces are on posters, on websites. We all know them. We just don't really know all about them. Most are just attracted to the feathers, the regalia, the bullhorn, the loud rhetoric, the excitement of the activism. But we need to stop and listen to the women and the children who really knows what happens behind closed doors when the masses are not watching them.